Hello everyone. Welcome back. This is like a new topic that I want to talk about. I wanted to discuss my own personal experiences using the NHS while I was living in Scotland and the healthcare system in Bulgaria, where I currently do my medical stuff. I got diagnosed with a benign pituitary tumor procrastinoma in summer 2015, and it was by the NHS. I had registered to a local medical practice near the flat that I was renting at the time in Edinburgh, and my doctor diagnosed me correctly, and she told me what the condition's all about. She printed out some info about it, and then she referred me to an endocrinologist at the Western General Hospital in Edinburgh. At first I had to do some medical tests first, for free. I got to do that for free in Scotland. Blood tests to see what my hormone levels are, and an MRI scan. It is true that I had to wait long waiting times for an appointment with an endocrinologist. I had to wait for I don't know, maybe around 3 or 4 months. But otherwise, everything was for free. My blood tests were for free there. Whereas in Bulgaria, I remember when I was in high school, I went to a gynecologist, and she mentioned I should go to test my hormones. It was just too expensive for my mother, so we left that undone anyway because it's just pricey. But I got that done for free in Scotland, and that's how they found I had high prolactin levels. And then I did the MRI scan for free after getting to my doctor's appointment in Scotland. And that's when they finally found that I had a pituitary tumor from the MRI scan, and they prescribed me cabergoline. And the doctor also, I remember one of those doctors in Scotland mentioned that I could have a thyroid problem, but they didn't really do any further checks on it. In terms of the NHS, a lot of people say bad stuff about it, so I was kind of reluctant about using it. I didn't want to use NHS at all, but my mother really wanted me to use NHS because she thought that I have to have some medical proof that I have a tumor before I come back to Bulgaria to continue my treatment. And yeah, so I did that. I also had a job offer right after graduation, and I was going to my doctor's appointments. And yeah, apart from the waiting times, the long waiting times, everything else was okay, I guess. It is true that when I first came to Scotland, I went to my doctor and they didn't want to give me a medication for my cold. I usually get winter colds, but then I realized that I have to go to my pharmacist, and you tell them your symptoms and they give you some kind of medications for free there. So that's how I could get medications in Scotland. So I don't think it's completely true that they don't give you any medications. It depends, if you have a very serious illness, that's when they would give you medications, and actually you have to go to your pharmacist, not to your doctors. So it can be confusing. The long waiting times are a pain in the ass. They fucking suck. I don't like it either. But I had no other choice at the time, so I had to deal with it. And after I started cabergoline, I lost my job, and I was very hormonal and irritated from the side effects of the drug, so I had to stop working for a while. And I was complaining so much about the side effects that they gave me an antidepressant to help me relieve the side effects, and it did work for a bit, but then I went off the antidepressant after a few months because I started to feel better. And yeah, then I had to come back to Bulgaria, and I continued my treatment in my hometown. I went to an endocrinologist, and she didn't even believe I had a tumor. I was just I have a pituitary tumor. She was there's nothing wrong with it. But then I went to my do an MRI scan in Varna, and it showed that it was shrinking. And she's oh damn, you do have a tumor. I'm just oh well, no shit, Sherlock, told you so. Yeah, so then after the side effects of the medication were not affecting me so badly anymore, my hormone levels were finally in the norm, and that's when she decided that I should lower my dose. But then my prolactin levels will go up again. She was actually the doctor that found that I had high TSH levels as well, and she put me on levothyroxine. So at least one good thing she did for me. But after she failed with that lowering my dose and my prolactin going up again, that's when my mother was I need to change her. So we went to this Armenian doctor that I'm with right now in my hometown, and he pretty much said the same after a few years with him, but we're just no, we don't want to stop the medication. We also went to an endocrinologist in Sofia in the hospital mother's home because apparently she is a specialist in pituitary tumors, whereas those doctors in Varna are general and they deal with diabetes mostly, so they don't know much about pituitary tumors and how to manage them. And she said even if the results are good, it's still there. So do not go off the medication. So we're listening to her instead of the Armenian guy. And yeah, for now it's going well. I actually pay for all this healthcare stuff in Bulgaria, but there are no waiting times like in the UK. And like, so I pay for my medications, I pay for an appointment, I pay for MRI scan, I pay travel expenses to go to Sofia, I pay for a hotel room and all that jazz. And like combined, I think it's like around 700 per year that I pay. That's like a little under 1,000 per year, leva. But it's not like too expensive to the point where people cannot like afford medical treatment. It can be pricey, but it's not like unaffordable. Oftentimes like people think that healthcare in Bulgaria is not developed enough and they don't know what they're doing. They find that you have cancer when it's like too late or something, and people might prefer to go to Germany to get their surgeries done, but since it's paid there as well, they do like charities in Bulgaria to send these people to have their surgeries done in Germany. Luckily, I'm not that bad. I actually wanted to come back to Bulgaria and continue my treatment in Bulgaria because I thought that it just makes more sense to do your medical treatment in your own country instead. And definitely, it would help a lot to be with my family, to be taken care of, and to be in my hometown, to relax a bit. That would really lower my stress. So I was for coming back here, whereas my mother wanted me to stay and use NHS, but I didn't want to use them. And yeah. So eventually I had to come back anyway because of the whole Brexit thing. And that's when I was just like, oh, I can't do this anymore, guys. Like, I can't deal with this anymore. So that's when I finally came back to Bulgaria long term and continued my treatment here. I actually had to do a translation of my medical records from the Western General Hospital in Edinburgh. So that my doctors in Bulgaria could understand, since, like, they're Bulgarian doctors. So yeah, we did the translation of my medical records from English to Bulgarian, and after that things have been going fine. They're monitoring me every few months for my hormone levels, and we do an MRI scan once a year, but sometimes they tell me not to do an MRI scan every year, like because there's radiation in it, and sometimes it's just not necessary. They say that it's shrinking and it's working and the drug is working on me. So yeah, that's where I'm at now. And I don't think I want to like tell you how much it costs me to pay for everything. Just like the appointments at my doctor's, the medications, the MRI scan, travel expenses, hotel stays. Like I don't want to tell you that, but approximately it is like 700 per year. But sometimes I get to not do an MRI scan because it's just not necessary to do it every year. So yeah. And sometimes I don't have to go to Sofia. Like sometimes they're just like, come to me next year, not this year, but next year. So yeah, that's about it. That's everything I wanted to say. But my experience with the NHS has been okay. It is true that sometimes they don't want to prescribe you drugs, and sometimes they're like long waiting times, but they have given me an appointment whenever I really needed an appointment, and whenever I needed medication they did give it to me. So it depends how bad your condition is. And I'm telling this as a person who always had bad health. Like I have a weaker immune system. I was an asthmatic as a child. So I'm telling you that it's been okay, but it's not that great really. But it was an okay experience with the NHS. And it's true that the waiting times are a pain in the ass. Like, no one wants to wait for a few months to get to see the doctor. So yeah, the queue is really huge for these appointments. Either way, like it's been fine, but since I was in a foreign country, I just did not feel comfortable using the NHS, if that makes sense. Like I always thought that, I should come back to Bulgaria, continue my treatment here. What am I doing here? Like I don't want to use NHS at all. But yeah, my mother really wanted me to try because she thought it would be better in some way. I don't know. But I don't know. I feel like everywhere nowadays healthcare sucks. Like, whether it's in Eastern, Western, everywhere it just fucking sucks. So I just don't even know what to say anymore. It's been hard for me as a person with chronic illnesses because people don't believe you that you have it. They think you're faking it. They're just being in a place with me, and I'm telling them something that I'm going through, and they're just being total assholes to me. So it's been really frustrating. So that's why I kept all this stuff to myself for a long time. But nowadays I feel like, yeah, I do have what to say about it. Like, I just want to share my experience with this kind of stuff. So yeah, and in the end it was Scotland, like the doctors in Scotland that diagnosed me correctly. I did go to a doctor in high school for the same problem, but they didn't take it seriously, and they didn't even know what amenorrhea is, for example. So I learned this stuff by myself from watching YouTube videos, literally, like that were educational. So I don't think I went to a good doctor back in my high school era in Bulgaria. So yeah, so I'm just telling you that they're not always that bad, like the NHS, like, but it's not been spectacular at the same time. But they did take my period problem a bit more seriously than in Bulgaria. So I don't know. At least I tried something else, and I've seen other types of like medical treatments, I guess. So yeah, thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more content. Bye.